Hello, my name is Mahmouda, but my friends call me Moo, and I'm from Bath in the UK. And this is my story. Please forgive me if I cry during my talk. On Monday, the 11th of December 2006, I had the worst day of my life, and this was the first of many. My husband, the love of my life, the father of our 4 young children, was killed in a tragic car accident. And this has scarred myself and all 4 of my children for life. He went to work in the morning, and that was the last time we saw him alive. But one thing I always tell my son was that Daddy spent an extra half an hour with him that morning whilst I took the older 3 to school. My husband was a huge, strapping young man. At 6'2", he used to tower above me, but he was quiet and shy, and yes, the opposite of me, until he got to know you. He was a gentle giant. He was a wonderful husband and father, and my best friend. Grief is something all of us go through at some point in our lives, but it's something we don't talk about. It's a taboo subject. If we don't talk about it, then we can pretend we're not hurting. But for me, that doesn't work. I want to talk about my grief. I want to talk about my husband because the pain I feel is a testimony of my love for him. When someone we know is hit with grief, sometimes we don't know what to say, so we say nothing. But it's not about what you say, it's about letting them know you are standing next to them. So if they fall, you will help them and pick them up. And I'm grateful for those who did exactly that for me. One friend in particular, named Sally, she would come and sit with me in the middle of the night while I sobbed until I was too tired to cry anymore. That fateful day could have been the beginning of the end for me. I'll admit the first 2.5 years is still a blur, but it was a case of putting one foot in front of the next and to keep moving forward. For me, it was important to bring up my children with happiness and the laughter in their lives, but also with a kindness and a generosity for others. They, we, were all and still are very blessed in so many ways. After a death of a loved one, we can sometimes withdraw into ourselves and maybe never find a way out. I didn't want that for my children. That first Ramadan, I sat with my children every night and watched the Islamic charity shows. And I asked them how much they wanted to donate and who to. I would make them call the studio line and ask for prayers for their dad. Every donation was done in his name, and this gave me a peace and a comfort that I still feel every Ramadan. On the first death anniversary, I couldn't bear the thought of being in our home, reliving the moment when the police came to my door. So we went to Bangladesh, where we could physically help people less fortunate, asking them to pray for my late husband and to remember him always in their prayers. Every act of charity brought peace to me, but the grief never goes away. I'm very proud of my children. They've grown into loving, kind young adults, but the grief never goes away. I'm sure you've heard the saying, mad with grief, and I know exactly what that means now. I would hear my husband's voice or laugh. He would argue with me for crying. I can laugh about that now, but at the time, oh boy, I actually thought I was going mad. And the grief never goes away. They say time is a healer. Well, it's not. The grief hasn't gone. You just learn to accept it or to hide it better. 14 years on, and still the grief never goes away. But we are women. We are strong. We are leaders and nurturers. We find a way to whatever normality is. For me, normality is crying when I need to let out emotions, and that's okay. It's not a weakness. Hugging my children and loving them with every ounce of my being. Sleeping only 3 hours a night, if I'm lucky. And talking about my husband, keeping his memory alive, not just for me, but also for our children. He was and always will be the love of my life. Why am I blessed? I had 19 years with my love, 15 of those as his wife, So many people never even have a fraction of that love. But all the time in the world, we had quality, if not quantity. We were told it was highly unlikely we would have children. And yet, God has blessed us with 3 beautiful daughters and a handsome son. We have a home, we have warmth, we have food and security. So, yes, we are blessed. There, but for the grace of God, go I. The only thing that my husband wanted to do, which he didn't get a chance to do, was to take my children to Disney World in Florida. And yes, I've done that with them a few times. And throughout the time there, we have felt his presence with us. The very first time, we went on a manatee river cruise, and they're known as the sea cows. But on the cruise, we were also told they were called gentle giants of the sea. The children and I just looked at each other, all thinking the same thing. It was a sign of him watching over us. That is one of many holidays I've taken with the children. I found travel to be exactly what I needed for our emotional well-being. Seeing the children have fun, laugh, and experience life was definitely a form of healing for me, as well as for them. Holidays give you a chance to relax, to de-stress, to reconnect with yourself and with your loved ones. I have taken the kids on a Mediterranean cruise, a 3 week tour of Australia, Hawaii, Turkey, just to name a few. We always visit historic and cultural sites wherever we go, and my husband would have loved doing that. So for me, I feel I am honouring his memory by living this life that we have. But it was hard not having him with us, sharing the laughter and the fun, and the grief never goes away. However, we have only one life, and I wanted to show the children that life goes on. And despite the heartache, they have a whole future to look forward to. In 2018, I was introduced to an exclusive travel company, and it has changed my life. One of my hobbies is making jewellery, so I called my business Moose Jewels on the Beach. I feel genuinely happy. Normally, from October to April, I struggled because it was all our birthdays and his death anniversary. I'd be paralysed with grief. However, since I joined this company, I haven't felt that. Yes, I still have days where I can't stop crying and the heartache is unbearable, but it's no longer paralysing me for months on end. It's not just the business aspect, which I love, as it means I get to travel more for less, and I can help families dream holidays come true far quicker and cheaper than they could have ever imagined. Much more than that is the community we have. Our team is not just business partners, we are family. We support each other through all the hard times. We are Team Dragonfly Voyages. That is what grief, maybe any emotional pain, needs: a support system of friends, of family, or even a professional. They don't ask you if you're okay, they just hug you until you are. Hopefully, in the workshop, I'll cover more about the travel benefits. As I have said before, we have one life and we need to live that life, to laugh and to love. Find that one thing that makes you happy. That doesn't mean you miss the person any less. It doesn't mean you've forgotten them. It just means you're living the life they didn't get the chance to enjoy with you. You're celebrating their life by living yours. For me, making sure my children were happy was my priority, but that was for them, it wasn't for me. And as they grow up and leave the nest, I'll be on my own again. So over lockdown, my eldest daughter got married, and the smile on her face made everything worthwhile. And I dreamt of my husband that night, and he was so happy. The perfect end to a perfect day. I expect to feel upset when life is hard and to miss him more at those times. But every happy occasion brings back with a vengeance the fact he wasn't here with us, not here to celebrate with us. But I know he'd be so proud of our children, just like I am. Grief can turn your world upside down and crush your soul if you let it. It's taken me a long time to be in a place where I feel happy. There is no time limit on how long grief lasts. And personally, I believe it will always be there, hovering in the background for me, but at least it's not crippling me anymore. Even with my own grief and heartache, I still found time for others, to help them when they needed. Kindness is something instilled in me by my parents, and I'm grateful that I have this compassion for others, and I hope I have done the same for my children too. Whatever we are going through, there is probably someone somewhere in a worse situation. We need to be grateful for every blessing showered on us. As Tennyson said, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. As I've already said, we are strong women. We have a responsibility to the next generation as nurturers to teach them to be strong and independent, but kind and caring. As part of my business, I love the fact I can help families fulfill the lifelong dream holidays. Making memories with our loved ones is so important. I was in a situation where I was fortunate enough to be financially stable, but it felt like blood money. And I struggled with the reason why I had that money. The continued donations over the years have helped me come to terms with that. But I'm grateful that I'm able to use the money for amazing holidays we have had, the experience we've had. But I'm aware that most people won't have that financial backing behind them. So if I can help them save money and still have those experiences and make lifelong memories, it's a gift that is helping me as I help them. Life is short. We don't know what is around that corner. That morning, I was a happy wife and content with my wonderful family life. Everything changed in a matter of minutes. I'll never be the same person again, but I'm a version of me that is still kind and caring. I'm forever grateful that I didn't become a person that didn't recognize myself or even like myself. And that could have happened so easily if I'd allowed the hatred for the other driver to seep into my heart. We all have choices to make on a daily basis. We can decide to get up and make the most of the cards we have been dealt, or we can blame those cards and let life pass us by. But that choice isn't always an easy one to make. We need help and support sometimes, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to let the grief engulf us and cry, and that's okay. And then there will be days that the sun shines, which I wish it was here, and we feel everything was right in the world, and that's okay. However we feel when we wake up, knowing we're not alone is important. There is always someone who will help you, whether it's family, friends, or a professional. However strong, we don't have to face this world alone. With the situation we're currently in, and I don't want to talk about the virus, some of us will feel isolated and alone. But that's what I want to emphasize. We are not. We are not alone. There is someone out there who needs support. So be that person who can give a helping hand. As Muslims, my parents taught me that whenever you give in kindness, you will have that returned in multitude by the grace of God. As women, no, as human beings, we need to support each other and lift each other up. And as we lift each other up, we will be lifted. Even a simple smile can make someone's day. Grief has made me the person I am today. As a widow, as a mother, as a daughter, and as a friend, and a businesswoman, I am always going to be doing my best to be the person I need to be. I'm surrounded by positive people, and I can never tell those who have been there for me how much I appreciate their care for me, but I can pay it forward. And the grief never goes away. But you are not alone. Celebrate life. Allow yourself to live, to love, and to laugh. Thank you.